In recent years, rural marketplaces have acquired a great significance in several countries. The overall intensification of the financial system has resulted into substantial enlargement in the purchasing power of rural communities. In friendship with the Green Revolution in India, the rural areas are consuming a large quantity of industrial manufacture and urban manufactured commodities. This has led to the revolution in approach of the marketers to move to these parts of the world. Rural marketplace is getting an importance because of starting of metropolitan marketplaces. The rural marketplace is more or less penetrated due to the competition in the urban marketplaces. The promoters of the commodities are looking for enlarging their commodity categories to an explored or innovative marketplace, that is the rural marketplace. So, the rural consumers are targeted by the metropolitan markets. This has also led to the corporate social responsibility activities being done by corporate to help other poor attain some wealth to spend on their product categories. In this connection, the discussion about the rural market is really important. Rural marketplace are defined as those segments of overall marketplace of any economy or countryside marketplaces which are different from other places like stock market, commodity market, labor market, etc. Dynamics of rural markets differ from other marketplaces types, and similarly rural marketing strategies are also significantly different from marketing strategies aimed at urban industrial consumer. Rural marketplaces constituted by the rural individuals. There is no right way to operate a rural market. The extent to which the public sector and the local communities are involved depends on who pays for the development and who maintains it. Countryside marketplace is an efficient marketing system, can provide better prices to producers and improve the availability of compatibility charged products to consumers. In some cases, innovative marketplaces or improvements to existing marketplaces in rural areas can help to overcome many of the marketing problems faced. The involvement of central government in small marketing infrastructure is usually limited to capital expenditure. The maintenance being undertaken by local governments or community itself using the locally generated funds such as market fees. A marketplace committee or perhaps a local rural development committee would usually be a key decision making body. The rural marketplace in India is a huge unorganized marketplace, as well as much of it is still untapped into various domains. A huge scope for serious exists in these marketplaces where still major companies have directed their focus on. Since majority of Indian population exists in rural segment, prospects of huge demand exists for the products offered by various companies or service providers, but the demand and the supply patterns in the rural segment is majorly different than those of urban segment. This difference is due to a vast difference in income level, expenditure capacity, taste and experiences, educational level, social and cultural environments, so on and so forth. These differences result in gaps between the serious service provider and the consumer or customer in both the marketplace segments. Hence, a service provider clearly needs to understand these gaps and the strategies to fill the gaps efficiently. Therefore, the mantra of successful strategy implementation in rural market for the service delivery is think global, act local, practice regional, which is stated by Mahatma Gandhi. Rural development generally refers to the processing of improving the quality of life and economic well-being of the people living in comparatively isolated and meagerly populated areas. Rural development has traditionally centered on the exploitation of land extensive natural resources such as agriculture and forestry. However, changes in global production networks and increased urbanization have changed the character of rural areas. Increasingly, tourism, niche manufacturers and recreation have replaced the natural resource and agriculture as the domain economic drivers. The need for rural communities to approach development from a wider perspective has created more focus on broad range of development goals rather than merely creating incentive for agriculture or natural resource based business. Education, entrepreneurship, physical infrastructure and social infrastructure all play an important role in developing rural regions. Rural development is also characterized by its emphasis on locally produced economic development strategies. In contrast to urban regions, which have mainly similarities, rural areas are highly distinctive from one another. Rural development aims at finding the ways to improve the rural lives with participation of the rural people themselves so as to meet the required need of the rural area. The outsider may not understand the setting, culture, language and other things prevalent in the local area. Rural market issues. In a recent study by Accenture, a multinational management counseling technology services and oil company, has said that more than 2/3 of the companies doing business in India plan to rapidly accelerate the expansion of their business in the rural marketplaces. Rural marketplaces are attractive for a number of reasons. Rural incomes are growing and consumers are buying the discriminatory goods and lifestyle products including mobile phones, television sets and two-wheelers, etc. Successful companies have used innovative techniques to reach the rural consumers and to scale operations profitably. The expansion to rural is not restricted to a particular sector. Companies of FMCG, fast moving consumer goods, healthcare, banking and finance and auto and telecom have expanded their operations to rural areas. There is no dilemma that India's rural marketplaces have become a powerful economic engines. The rural multiplier effect is what stimulates policymakers and business leaders alike. Rural India's contributions to the nation's economic success and the obvious potential for profitable growth are just a part of the promise of wholehearted commitment to doing the business beyond the city centers and suburbs. India's rural marketplaces present opportunities that companies seeking to become high performance business cannot afford to ignore. Rural marketplaces are geographically dispersed and lack of adequate physical and social infrastructure. As a result, the distribution of goods and services and uniform villages is extremely difficult and costly. The scarcity in the rural marketplace infrastructure and lack of established supply chain networks damage the logistics cost. Therefore, more than 60% of the survey respondents reported higher logistics costs. Recruiting and selecting channels partners is another aspect of challenge to reach the customer. The sales skills required for the rural marketplaces differ noticeably from those needed in urban areas. Purchase of produce may be on an individual basis at the farm gate. Purchasers go to the farm usually at a pre-arranged time. In some cases, such as with the fruit crops, the produce can be sold on the tree or in the field and the purchaser arranges for its harvesting. In other cases, the salesman may be through marketing groups or cooperatives. The farmers in this case may wait for the trader in connection with centers. These marketplaces are usually for the direct sales of small quantities to produce by farmers to village traders and rural consumers. Rural primary markets often from heart of a network arranged in a periodic basis, such as on a specific day of each week. They are commonly organized at a central place in a village or district center or beside a village access road. In some instances, marketplaces in a small towns also provide a gathering function. Larger rural marketplaces are found where the greater quantity of produce are traded either by the producers themselves or by the traders. These assembly marketplaces gathering produce in larger quantities for onward sale to outside buyers are often combined with the local rural marketplaces and are normally situated on a main highways, other local main roads or near to transport. Traders are collection of agents working on behalf of urban wholesalers normally purchase the produce. The marketplace operation may be year round or seasonal depending upon the types of crops being marketed. Farmers may also take their produce directly to urban areas either to a retail marketer or to a wholesale marketplace. Not all villages have a permanent marketplaces and the distance to marketplace can differ a lot. A key concept in rural development is how rural settlements relate to the overall pattern of towns and villages. The challenges faced by the companies in expanding operation in rural marketplaces can broadly be classified into three categories: reaching the rural customer, acquiring them and retaining these acquired customers. The basic scope of this novel initiative will be mutual benefits of the rural entrepreneurs and industries. The entrepreneurs' primary beneficiaries, self-help groups bridge with the community. Participating companies, industries and rural consumers have matched through a various and vigorous commercial relationship. These models of marketing linkages demonstrate a large corporation which can play a major role in reorganizing marketplaces and increasing the efficiency of rural product generation system. While doing so, it will benefit farmers and rural communities as well as shareholders. Moreover, the key role of information technology provided and maintained by the industry or company for building linkages and used by local farmers brings about the transparency, increased access to information and rural transformation. Besides this, strategy of marketplace linkage addresses to the challenges faced by the rural entrepreneurs due to numerous intermediaries and infrastructure bottlenecks. Moreover, the prime scope of this model is creation of opportunities for the rural entrepreneurs for the product differentiation and innovation by offering them choices. Because of this sustainable marketplace linkages, rural products can participate in the benefits of globalization and will also develop their capacity to maintain global quality standard. Nevertheless, it creates new stakeholders for the industry sector and subsequently they become the part of firms' core business. The involvement of private industry sector at the rural product and marketplace development can also provide opportunities for the development of new services and values of the customers which will find application in the developer marketplaces. It will be worth mentioning that building a sustainable and suitable marketplace linkage through industry intervention will also empower the rural mass producers, farmers and entrepreneurs to cope up with the socio-economic problem in the rural society and will ensure economic self-reliance. Rural commodities of India are exceptional, innovative and have a good effectiveness and values. Larger number of these rural products like handicrafts items, food products, embroidery, cloths and other products continues a significant segment of population in the rural areas. Several attributes of the rural products can be identified for which it has a demand in the marketplace. Out of the lots, ethnic origin and the indigenous design and appearance are two qualities of the rural products attracting a premium in the marketplace. But opposite to this, the non-uniformity of rural commodities form one another, and lack of this quality control measures has been creating a negative demand. Besides, the small sized and distributed productive units of these rural commodities hinder realization of the economies of the scale in marketing and result in high transaction costs per unit of output. Niche based commodities have no local marketplace. Commodities in local use are also not marketed horizontally. They often first travel down to marketplace through a long chain of intermediaries and then up to more difficult locations in the rural areas. Present position. Rural marketplaces as a part of any economy have an untapped potential. There are several difficulties confronting the effort to fully explore the rural marketplaces. The concept of rural marketplaces in India, as also in several other countries like China, is still developing shape, and the sector creates a variety of challenges, including understanding the dynamics of rural marketplaces and strategies to supply and satisfy the rural consumers. In India is a country of rich culture and heritage. Rural tourism in India takes you to a journey of not so known the land and people, which is the backbone of this country. It is a journey to explore diversity and hospitality from nook and corners of India. Rural tourism attempts to make a way to a dreamland full of peace, simplicity and innocence, conflict with nature, unlearn luxury and spend time with people who support your life by providing raw inputs for complex city life needs. Following service areas have great potential in rural markets. Rural customers require proper agricultural consultancy services about the best methods, timings and seasons, technology, tools, prices and best marketplaces for selling their farming commodities. The rural marketplace has huge potential for banking services for providing following facilities at affordable prices: agricultural loans, education loans, housing loans, saving accounts and safe deposits, automobile loans, etc. There is a huge demand for medical and health facilities in rural marketplaces. As there is a large population in India that resides in the rural areas that lack proper facilities for proper health care. This availability and location of these services is lots of great concern of the most of the areas, either to do or to have any or many rural or remote areas need to be dependent on every few and distantly located hospitals. Due to increased awareness and the improved telecom infrastructure across India, the demand for telecom, fixed, wireless and internet services are increased drastically. There has been a huge increase in the number of two-wheelers, four-wheelers and agricultural tools and vehicles in the past few decades because of the reduction in prices and the government support to the rural population. Due to the increased awareness, areas of interest, leisure requirements and number of entertainment options like televisions and computers, due to reduced affordable prices, the demand for entertainment services like TV entertainment channels have increased. Due to increased mobilization because of business and personal needs, there is also increased demand for hotel and lodging services to travelers, but majority driven by pricing of such services and facilities. Hence, provide a great platform for the service providers to focus on these demands to capture a big untapped market centers. The rural population are majority involved in celebrating and organizing festivals which require lighting arrangements, venue decoration, food, lodging, transportation, catering and event planning, etc. As there has been a major improvement in the quality of lifestyle and increased awareness among the rural customers, especially females, there has been great demand observed for the beauty commodities and services. Till now, the entertainment service providers for movie theatres at affordable prices in rural marketplaces are dominated by local and unorganized players who lack proper facilities and infrastructure as well as quality delivered. Focusing on this marketplace is a good profitable business. The rural marketplace lack adequate and quality educational services which are majority catered by government agencies and bodies. But due to lack of proper infrastructure, expertise, knowledge, talent, funds and participation of service provider, this sector is unable to meet the desired level of services exception to the rural customer for the career building. Hence, there is a great business opportunity for any company if it is able to fill the gap effectively and would also imparting its social responsibility to the growth of the society and the country. With all the above mentioned areas for services in rural marketplaces, there is a huge demand and growth opportunities and that exist to be exploited by the companies which can also best marketplace expansion and profitably by investing in the rural India. 7 P's analysis for rural and urban marketing. The most potential among all the above described services in the rural banking services, let us examine the sectors on the basis of difference between the rural and the urban marketplaces on the grounds of 7 P's of marketing. The first P is product. The commodities or services provided to the rural customers differ from that of urban customer as rural segment have more demand for the agricultural loans, lower limits for savings accounts, microfinance, lower amount of loans for education, automobiles, small and medium scale industry and personal loans. The duration of these loans schemes and capacity also differ from the urban to the rural areas. Second P is price. The price of these services as expected by the rural customer is lesser as compared to the urban customer due to the fact that income level as well as the saving pattern of the rural customer are lesser. Next P is place. The place of availability is of very intense concern in the rural marketplaces due to lack of adequate and proper transportation facilities in rural India. Next P is promotion. The promotional strategies in rural marketing needs to be more personalized and simple as compared to the urban marketplaces which needs to reach more remote areas as rural marketplaces lack more means of communication and technology. The next P is physical evidence. The physical evidence provided to the rural segment differ from that of urban marketplaces as they need to be more simple, colorful, artistic and personalized as most of the rural customers lack adequate education or lack educational background and thus need to be clearly explained about the features and benefits of the service provided. The next P is people. The people and the staff appointed for the service delivery for the rural banking services need to be properly selected, recruited and trained to properly understand the rural customer needs and requirements. The next P is process. The process of rural banking differ from that of urban banking sector as it needs to be more simple and thus less documentation involved in the more customized as per the economic capacity of the customers. The process of banking in the rural marketplace is observed to be more affected by the government policies and rural economy, rural customer psychology driven. The government is acting as a facilitator for companies looking at venturing into rural marketplaces. But since the rural areas are greatly fragmented, it will still take us a couple of years for getting a smooth connectivity that will help companies reach the rural customer effectively. The government and private sector can create a win-to-win situation by looking together, pooling the resources and the local market knowledge, which will be a very crucial to make any rural business profitable and sustainable in the long run. Companies are also adopting channels that are mostly used in urban marketplaces. E-commerce is a prime example. In the future, online channel can become a game challenger for companies trying to access the rural marketplaces. There is a tremendous scope for production and marketing of large scale rural commodities. Therefore, process is essential to explore the marketplace linkages and capacity building for self-help groups through a bottom-up approach and stakeholders of rural enterprise. This process should ensure the participation of rural people as consumers and producers in the globalization mechanism, with the better lives and the global access to marketplaces. The real challenge of building a sustainable marketplace